Well, welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar on careers in hospitality. My name is Scott Dahl, and I'm very happy to be with you. I'm going to be your host today. I'm also the program director of our Masters in Hospitality Strategy and Digital Transformation. But I think perhaps more importantly, I've got three really special guests. So let me really quickly introduce you to all of them, and then we'll get started with the program. My first guest, Stephanie Ruiz Jongh. Stephanie is in charge of CDIP, or Career Development and Internship Planning. And Stephanie, do us a favor, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm half Spanish, half Dutch. I actually graduated from Les Roches in 2006. I then went out to the industry, and I've been switching back and forth between hospitality and recruitment. I really love both. And I came back in 2014 as a senior career counselor, and then moved up to become head of career services now for almost 2 years.
Cool. Thanks, Steph. So do me a favor. I'm going to put you on the spot right in the beginning so that everybody can understand who they're talking with. Tell us one thing that people on this webinar would be surprised to learn about you.
Yeah, put me on the spot. Why not? I think the fact that within the school, I am considered the LinkedIn master. I have a large amount of contacts, and I do all the trainings internally for LinkedIn. I am a very big fan of networking, and so I think it's a very good way of keeping up your network.
Cool. Thanks, Steph. I will definitely get back to you quite a bit later, especially when we talk about careers and things like that, but thank you very much. I would also like to welcome our next panelist, Talita da Silva. Talita is a graduate of Les Roches, which is very exciting for us, and she's had a very interesting career in the short amount of time since she's left Les Roches. And we'll get into that in more detail in a moment. But Talita, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
So yeah, I'm Talita. I am half Brazilian, half Italian. I graduated from Les Roches in 2012 from my bachelor, and then 2013 I also finished the bachelor in Kendall College, in Chicago. So I actually graduated in 2013. Not that long ago. I am currently the director of sales and marketing in Dubai for an events company, one of the top events company in Dubai. And yeah, I think Scott can tell a little bit more.
Sure. She also worked for TripAdvisor at one point, which is a very big company in our industry. For those of you that are familiar with it, we'll dig into that a little bit in a minute as well. Now, Talita, same question for you. Tell us something that we would be surprised to learn about you.
So I'm guessing everyone here loves traveling, so I'm not sure if it's anything super surprising, but I have a personal goal. I want to reach 50 countries that I visited over the past years before I turned 30. So I have 2 years to reach that goal. I am at 43 right now, so a few more to go.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And our final panelist, Ludovic Veldhuizen. I hope I said that correctly. I've been practicing, so it should have been pretty good. Ludovic is also a graduate of Les Roches, and Ludovic's had already a very successful career in the startup environment. So Ludovic, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So hi everyone. Ludovic is my Dutch name. Please call me Louis. It's a lot easier for everyone. That's the name I usually use.
Now you tell me. Thanks.
So I finished Les Roches in 2015. I did a master's before. That was actually a career changer program. So I did a PGD there. And since then I took a trip into 6-star hospitality, which I absolutely loved. And then I rolled into tech startups because I wanted to found my own company. So I did, because of that, I grew my network, got into consulting, and currently I'm on my second company.
Cool. Okay, now you probably have learned the drill at this point, but before we move on to the next section, tell us something about yourself that we'd just be surprised to learn.
Yeah, so thanks for giving me some time to prepare, so not really on the spot for me. But I'm really into psychology. And what I do every morning and every evening before I go to bed is I read my goals and the habits that I want to program into my mind. I read them to myself. So I try to actively influence my subconsciousness to learn new patterns of behavior, and I find it's very helpful.
That's really cool. That's actually very cool. I'll reveal two things about myself. I actually use a very similar process, and for a long time I had a specific car that I had set a goal for that I was going to pay cash for, and the picture was on my refrigerator. For the few people out there that know me, I'm just under 2 meters tall. So I had this picture of this car on my refrigerator for about 4 years, I had a giant bonus year one year. It was a really great year. I was ready to go write the check for the car, and I got in it and I didn't fit. So it was kind of like my goal blew up right then. So I ended up taking a different model from the same company, but it actually is, it's a very powerful thing to stay focused like that. I think you're right. I think that if you can keep your subconscious mind working on your behalf instead of bothering you and distracting you, you really do kind of, you do sort of align yourself to go where you want to go. I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and be a little bit self-revealing. Based on the friendliness of this panel, I'll go kind of deep. And I'll say that one thing that people probably don't know about me is I've been married 3 times. I would not recommend it, to be honest with you, but I would also tell you that it's proof that practice makes perfect. So anyway, all right, let's move on to the reason we're here. Okay, so we're here to talk about global careers in hospitality, right? And so, and very specifically, we're going to talk about the part of the business that has evolved. I went to hotel school too, but I graduated in 1986, and I graduated into a very different world. And today's opportunities, quite frankly, are very different. They're driven a lot by technology. They're driven a lot by digitalization. And so we believe that these are the skills that are super important for accelerating people's careers in the future. And we believe it's important to become more specialized. When I graduated, and still many of our institutions are really great at producing luxury general managers, but when it comes time to talk about some of the other careers that are available in the industry now, what happens is those companies are forced to hire hotel people and then give them the additional upskills to be successful. And based on that response from the industry, we feel like we're really going to cut that curve for people and really prepare them better for the future of hospitality based on the way we teach. So I'm going to use an example that's really known in my world. Again, for those that don't know me, my specialty is revenue management and distribution in hospitality. And so let me give you an example of what's happened to the business. The business that I graduated into looked like the slide you're looking at right now. We made reservations by calling the hotel. Occasionally we told a travel agent. Every once in a while you became part of a group and that went through a different vehicle, but that was about it. Well, guess what? Technology and the internet specifically has absolutely blown up a part of our business. It's made it much more complex. So when you look at the model that you're currently looking at, every single one of those lines represents new opportunities, new careers, new technologies, and all kinds of things in distribution of hotels. And the reality is hotels have always paid pretty ripe commissions. And so a term that we use is this is a very monetizable space. There's a lot of money in this space. Okay, a lot of commission moves around. We'll talk about it in a minute, but when I graduated, there was no booking.com, there was no Expedia. But if you rank hotel companies, true hotel companies in the order of their value, only Marriott is worth more than either of those companies today. So this change that's taken place in the world has changed everything for us, but it's created opportunities for people that are looking for careers. And that's what we're talking about today. Okay, so I start with 3 outcomes. And the main reason is because as we've moved through life, people have become more pragmatic about education. It used to be that many people chose their location for their bachelor's degree based on where they wanted to go to school, based on the fact that their mom didn't want them to go to school here, so they chose here. Might be where their girlfriend is going, all kinds of different things. But the reality is those reasons often blow up kind of during your education. But the main thing that you're looking for is an outcome with your career. Most of us start school with the prospect of bettering ourselves for the future, right? So we have 3 main outcomes that we expect in the new hospitality. The first one is traditional players. And this call, that's represented by Talita, okay? But it's really anyone in the hospitality business that wants to get involved in the part of it that's progressing rapidly. So if you're thinking about a career in sales, marketing, digital marketing, revenue management, hospitality technology, I'm talking to you right now. Those are those jobs. The next set of careers are those companies, some of them I mentioned like booking.com and Expedia, but there's a bunch of other companies. And the best way to think of them is they help hotels be successful. Some of the best careers in the hospitality business are outside of hotels now, to be honest. And the best example I can give you is the president of Expedia was recently hired away to become the president of Uber. And we've all heard of Uber. It's one of the biggest enterprises in the world at this point. So clearly other industries even look to us for our expertise. And the third one, startups and entrepreneurs. I mentioned all these opportunities, and we'll hear from Ludovic quite a bit in different situations as we go through this, but there's tremendous startup opportunity in hospitality. When I graduated, again, I keep talking like I'm a million years old, but when I graduated, the opportunities were start your own hotel, start your own restaurant, different things like that. The entrepreneurial opportunities today are in technology, they're in supporting hotels, digital marketing. If you have a great technology idea, you actually can work with other companies and you can get your product to market very quickly. where those opportunities didn't exist for me. And that's the hotel business of tomorrow. Okay, so now we've got a quick poll we want to ask, right? So Mario, can you help me out with the poll? So you should see a poll come up. I'm not exactly sure what it looks like because I don't see it. Okay, let's see here. All right, so if everybody would answer that poll for us, that'd be great.
Scott, allow me this break to tell everybody you can ask questions in the chat or in the questions box that you should see on your screen. We'll pull out some polls, and these are for you to answer, but please feel free to send us any questions. We'll answer through the presentations. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, how are we doing on the poll, Mario?
Only 60% has voted. Come on, people.
Okay, let's go. Oops.
You should be seeing the results. There we go.
Okay, I don't see them. I don't see them.
See results? In case you don't see it, 45% is interested in a career in hospitality, 20% interested in career supporting hotels, so starting your own business, 10% taking the skills to another industry, and only 5, they already watched everything interesting on Netflix.
Okay. Well, for those of you guys, the most entertaining part was probably when we asked those revealing questions. So if you're the Netflix person, I hope we give you what you're looking for. Everybody else, we'll get there. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Let me get back into my presentation. Okay. All right, so traditional jobs, pretty obvious. Most of you guys are familiar with those. I'm not going to spend much time there, but it's not just hotels, right? It's all the segments of tourism. Talita is involved in event management, which is a really, really growing and interesting career for people. So it's really a broad interpretation of what is hospitality, not a narrow one. I have a number of graduates recently that went to work for companies that are companies you've never heard of before, but they run the food service operation on Google campuses, for example. So there's just a lot of different opportunities for people out there in traditional hospitality, okay, for sure. Okay, and there's a lot of other stuff going on with the sharing economy as well. So, you know, big employers are companies like Airbnb, like that. And there are a number of startups that are coming now in sharing economy type models that people are developing. So a lot of opportunities there as well. Well, let's talk about the traditional careers for a second before we move on. We're talking about revenue managers, commercial directors at hotels, directors of sales, digital marketing experts, okay, asset managers. Clearly, an asset manager is going to need to know these skills in order to be able to help their assets perform. So you can see there's a variety of different areas that this skill set would really help accelerate your career. Okay, and in addition to the hospitality industry, we're finding that more and more industries are hiring our students because of the luxury experience. So in recent years, I've had a number of graduates go to work for companies like Montblanc, LVMH, and all these different companies that are realizing that the hospitality industry teaches very unique skills that are very transferable to offering a top-notch luxury customer experience. Okay, and now what's starting to happen even more, or what's another area that people are starting to be poached, I guess, or where other industries are looking to hospitality, is specifically in digital marketing. We've been digital marketing for 20 years, and a lot of industries are just now wanting to become digital. So a number of our people have more experience than anyone in their industry does. And so it's creating opportunities for people that are moving outside of hospitality and running digital marketing for consumer goods products, service industries, all kinds of other things like that. So let's look at some of those companies as well. Montclair is here. We had a lot of people go to work for Bloomberg. I think the single largest employer last semester was PwC, I believe, was a major consulting company. So there's a lot of different opportunities that are not necessarily going to work in a hotel or even in those other opportunities in hospitality that we discussed. Okay, so what are these skills? And I'm going to start really calling. We don't have these people sitting here so that I can talk to them. Now we're going to start turning it over to them. But what are these skills? So I've taken advantage of using the curriculum for the master's program that I'm responsible for. But you're going to find that a number of those skills are basically coming up in all of our different curricula because it's turning out to be important. So the first one I'd like to point out, and then I'm going to ask a couple of our panelists to comment on it, is we do quite a bit of training in machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I'm going to obviously get to Ludovic because he's our tech guy and this is right up his alley, but I think you'll find that it's interesting, it's applicable everywhere. So Talita, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just wondering, can you think of an application in the space that you're in for some of these kind of skills?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go by the poll that we just had before, and 45% of the attendees are interested in hospitality. So I just wanted to emphasize overall the importance of knowing about tech in general, the importance of understanding where digital transformation can take the hospitality world, and we're talking about hotels and everything else that you mentioned before. I've seen that hand in hand when I was working at TripAdvisor. It is surprising how many people we're talking about, general managers, we're talking about director of sales and marketing, that do not know or do not understand anything digital. And it happened every single day I was in sales. So it is so important, if you're going into the hotel business, to really understand all that we're going forward right now, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence, which was one of the things that you mentioned. And on that point, briefly, I think it's really important to appreciate the importance of automating processes, right? So with automation, you remove the human error possibility, and that's a great, great thing, but also you're able to work more efficiently. So you're just able to get results faster. So yes, I think automation in general, which is linked to AI, it's crucial for the business.
Cool. And now I'm gonna, at the risk of getting a little bit Big Bang Theory for a moment, Ludovic, how can you see these skills being applicable in your environment currently?
Well, for me right now, I'm in digital marketing and I help companies who support hotels, right? So the companies who I help, what they do is they protect the infrastructure of hotels and resorts. This is very important because working in 5 or 6 star hospitality, you deal with guests who are very exclusive, right? And these guests, they come to hotels and resorts specifically to feel safe and to not be seen by other people. But at the same time, as a hotel or a resort, you want to take as good care of your guest as is humanly possible. So you might want to take some notes on things that they love, things that they like, and you want to circulate that with your staff. You might want to automate that process. So you're going to create data within this resort on your guests. Hotels have a responsibility then to really protect the data very well. So I'd say that is database management and AI are sectors I feel that you need to have an understanding about. You don't need to be able to execute it, but you need to be aware of it because it's critical at this time.
I like to use the example of a lot of this really. First of all, in this degree, I like to tell people that we're going to give them a dangerous amount of knowledge in a large variety of things. In other words, you won't be a programmer after this course. You won't be a web designer after you take that course, but you will be able to manage that function. You will be able to walk into the department of people at your company that do that for a living and relate to them and understand when you're asking them to do something that's difficult, and also understand when they're giving you a bunch of lip service and what you're asking for is not so big. But if you don't have those basic skills and an understanding of their area, you're really, quite frankly, very dependent on them, and you have to be super trusting. You can't really validate things. So I think that's an absolutely fantastic point. Think of driving. You don't know how to build a car to drive, right? But you kind of need to know how it works in order to be an educated driver. And it's very much the same thing. I think to be effective in being the leader in this, I think you have to understand the parts. It's critical. That's a great point. So let's take a look at, let's jump over to the next skill then. The next skill is really kind of cool. It's design thinking and innovation, right? So there's kind of a best practice for taking an idea, no matter how crazy, and turning into something viable. So again, let me start with you again, Talita. Tell me some places where that might come into play.
So I actually took a course myself in about design thinking, and it helped me today. So today we're facing a major crisis where innovation, you really need to be innovative if you want to survive what we're going through right now. So at the moment, for example, I am starting a e-commerce company here in Dubai. So if you don't have that base of knowledge, again, you're really lacking something in the market. You're really lacking the skills that you need to make things happen. So yes, I think the design thinking innovation part of it, it's essential skills linked to what Scott was mentioning before, that you really need to know in today's market, just because it is what companies are looking for within and outside the hospitality industry, of course.
And Ludovic, I'm certain that innovation plays a role, but quite frankly, in a startup, it's kind of obvious. But specifically, where would that skill benefit you guys?
I think the point of startups is basically testing ideas very rapidly. And the biggest problem with startups is that you have so many cool ideas, but you're not really sure if people want it, if the market accepts it, to be honest. So the best practice is to create something that's actually quite poorly designed, just as quick as possible, and then give it to people and then say, hey, would you use this, yes or no? And that allows you to test a lot of different things, and then you'll find something that people really want, and you can support society with it. So one of these startups in hospitality that I found particularly interesting is a startup that created a platform for people who want to organize their own trips in a city for tourists. And then this platform gives them a place to post their trips on. And an example would be someone in Iceland who wants to organize a 2-week tour. It goes hiking in the forest, it goes through a number of hotels and so on. And the person already has this organized, but no way to sell it. It's not a traditional hotel. So then by creating this platform, by allowing these people to post on it, and then by cleverly advertising, they've essentially created a whole new market for themselves, which I think is it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love what you said about getting very quickly to a product. I coach a lot of startups. I sit on the board of a revenue management recent startup. It's a second phase startup. And I get involved in that quite a bit. And one of the common flaws I find is that we don't get the user involved in the process very early. We're so convinced we have a great idea that we get really far down the line of executing that idea. And then we say, look at this cool thing I have for you. And they go, yeah, but you left out the beverage part. And we go, oh. So I think that you're exactly right to get that product really quickly and then engage the end user in understanding the problem is how you truly innovate. If you're innovating in the top of a mountain, unless you're solving your own problem, you're not talking to your customers yet. So I think that's a great point. You bring up a really, really good point in the design thinking piece. And the way that's taught, it's actually kind of cool in that it teaches you to bring input in, but not allow the project to be hijacked at the same time. Because sometimes when you ask for input, pretty soon someone sees a solution to their problem and you're running down another path before you know it. So it's a pretty cool process to stay focused and to stay on task as well. All right, let's see what the next one is. Oh, ethics and CSR.
Scott is just frozen.
I think Scott just froze, yeah. Or I thought it was me for a moment, but is it him?
Apologies, everybody. We're having Scott having trouble with his internet. Let's see if you can do anything about it. Give us 1 second. Maybe let's improvise. I think Scott certainly wanted to talk about the importance of ethics and CSR when you treat a lot of data, and more you talk about data management, data analytics, personal data of people. So what's the role of ethics?
Myself and Luis can actually take over that for you, Mari, if you prefer. Yeah. So I'll give an example of, again, a last company that was working for a huge company. So the bigger you are as a company, the more data you tend to be handling. I believe with regards to CSR and data handling, one of the most important things is to be able to train people. You need to train everyone that you're working with. You need to train the company, you need to train your staff how to handle data, especially sensitive data. So we actually had a data breach at the last company, or one of the companies that I was working for in the past. And when that happens, you lose business right away because you lose trust. And trust is something that first, it takes so much time to build. So it takes not only time, but you're also investing a lot of money into building trust as well, because you're investing everyone's time. And once you breach that, or once you break that trust, it is so hard to rebuild. So so knowing how to handle data, and especially sensitive data, it is definitely crucial.
I'll pitch in there. I see Scott is back. I'll pitch in there quickly with a small story of my own. So I worked at a resort called Soneva, and I recommend you look them up. They're awesome. So they call themselves 6-star, and I think they really are. So they're really on the high end of the segment. And their little brother is actually Six Senses Resort, which a lot of people might know. So the founder of Soneva also started Six Senses, but he started Six Senses because Soneva was so premium that he kind of needed something that was a bit less extreme, and that's then Six Senses. So Soneva is really high end, but then for environmentally conscious people. So as I like to call it, it's kind of like hippie for rich people, you know. But what's cool about Soneva is that they have tremendous corporate social responsibility. In fact, they're so good that they're really well known for it in Asia. And I think a lot of people underestimate just how much power you can have as a resort with interesting and powerful clientele. So what they do, for example, they also have resorts in the Maldives. They have resorts in Thailand, and they don't buy plastic bottles, and then they push other hotels not to do that too, and then other hotels conform. So they purify their own water. And then also they push this around Bangkok. They have a glass factory where they take on a lot of the trash glass in the Maldives, and then they use that to make sculptures and to process it further. So there's a little bit something romantic towards corporate social responsibility, and I'd encourage people to consider that if you have your own place or looking to start one, because it's people like it. They're cool stories. It's powerful.
I think it's interesting. I think it's very powerful. It makes a great marketing story, right? And a fantastic marketing story that is a nice story to tell, right? And so you're not just telling great things about yourself, but you're telling an actually very positive story. When you use a CSR as a foundation for marketing, it's interesting. It would be very interesting to see if one of our next normal situations is going to be that people will pay more of a premium for that, because unfortunately it's been a differentiator. But when it comes time to getting people to pay a little bit of extra money, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to get them to make that decision. So will the rest of the industry follow suit and become more sustainable, or will those sustainable hotels start to be seen as a premium? I think is still to be seen, but I think that's one of the things that will emerge in the new normal. I know my mother lives outside of Los Angeles. She sent me a picture the other day, and you can actually see the city from her house. And she sent me a 1-year-old picture from the same exact location, and it's sort of buildings in this murky gray. So 2 months of reducing the traffic in LA has drastically changed it. So hopefully we become a little bit more aware of the impact we're having on the world, and maybe we start voting a little bit economically for those companies that really are participating more in that for us. So I totally agree. I think that's a big thing. As far as ethics go, I think I wanted to conclude on that. I think there's a lot of technology being implemented, and if you think of data thefts and some of the things that Talita alluded to, there's more and more risk associated with implementing technology. And so I think that people are going to be put in a position to make more informed decisions about the technology we implement and the potential risk of the misuse of the technology at the same time. All right, let's take one more jump. I'm going to briefly describe this module. The Swiss education model is different. I come from the United States, as probably many of you guys can tell, but I really, really appreciate the Swiss education model for hospitality because there's a hands-on component to this business. We value experience. The people that are running hotels at one point or another, many of them started in very low-level positions and worked their way up. So it's a business that's very steeped in tradition as a result of it. It's also a business that, in my opinion, an applied type of learning is by far the best way to learn it. In other words, learn the theory, but then to accompany it a little bit with touching things. So in this module, this is obviously a very high level master's degree, but still we teach the entire third module in somewhat of an applied way. And so if you look at that, you'll see a project management course, then students start designing a business, design the customer experience, then they design the business strategy, and then they design the human resource structure and the culture of the company. And all throughout that, we're simulating situations that would happen in a hotel person's real life. So at one point through there, once you've kind of conceived of your business, you'll actually sit in front of me and a couple of my friends, and you'll pitch your idea and make a commitment for a return on investment. And once you've taken that business all the way to the end, then we actually put it in a simulation, and you'll get an opportunity to manage the hotel you created in a simulated marketplace against the hotels that all of your classmates created. and see if you can create the return on investment that you committed, and so on and so forth. So very applied, even at a very high level. And in the rest of our degrees the same way. We don't just teach food theory. You actually spend some time touching food in your degree, as both you guys know. So so I think that's a really valuable way to teach. And I'd really love to get both your guys' reflection a little bit on the sort of the benefit of that style of education, since you both went to school here. So let me start with Ludovic this time, just to shake it up.
Give me some
For
time to
me,
think.
I specifically came to Les Roches because I wanted to have something that was a little bit more hands-on. So I did a small analysis of the hospitality universities that I considered attending, and then Les Roches won for me because I already had some theoretical degrees. And for me, as Scott was saying, I think the practical has so much value. I learned that earlier in my life. Every time I learned the most, it was because there was a hands-on component. And my program was relatively short, much shorter than a bachelor degree or something. But if I hadn't had the hands-on components, then I would have missed out on so much info. So I highly recommend it. I vouch for it like 100%.
Cool. How about you, Talita?
Yeah, so I'm with Louis on that one. I think practical experience is not only necessary, but it's just crucial. And I really, really enjoyed everything that I did at Les Roches, that you really got to be hands-on. But with regards to what you were saying, Scott, for this program specifically, I think it is amazing that you're giving future students the opportunity to present to investors, or at least pretend that you're actually presenting a business idea to investors, because you never know when you're going to need it. You just never know when you're going to need it. So having gone through presenting to investors, putting together a business, thinking of logos and concepts and brand, and what is that going to represent? What is the target? Like, there's just so much. I did a capstone myself, and it was one of the most valuable experience that I had throughout all my years of education with Les Roches and without, actually.
Yeah, I think that we, again, in this model, we do a great job of teaching the theory and then kind of tying it all together with the functions that you're going to be using the theory for. It seems kind of obvious, but I'll be honest and say I graduated from a US style institution, and I was much better prepared for my career 10 years later than I was for the day I graduated. I graduated from school and went into housekeeping. My mom was the only person that ever taught me the difference between clean and dirty. And now at Les Roches, we have a housekeeping course on the undergraduate level. So it would have been a different level of participation and preparation even then. So let me jump a little bit, and let's bring our last guest off the bench a little bit, so to speak, because now we're going to get into her realm. And this is everything about really the outcomes that you guys are looking for when you come to study with us. So the first place, Stephanie, that I'd love to have you reflect a little bit is on the values of internships and that sort of thing in our style of teaching.
Yeah, so basically one of the things that I think are key when you're looking for a job, and this is usually why you study, you want a good job at the end of the story, is the hands-on experience and the internship. So it goes hand in hand together. So we are ranked one of the top hospitalities in the world because our students actually, when they go into the workforce, they've done some prior work. And this comes through what you learned in school, but also through the internships themselves. You have a full team, so I don't work alone. I have a lovely team of 4 people plus an intern that keeps changing every 6 months that will support all the students.
In the internship department. That's amazing.
Yes, I have an intern who basically, because I graduated in 2006, and what I might think is very cool and students will love it, my intern might come to me and say, Stephanie, you know what, in 2006 maybe, but now in 2020, maybe not anymore. So it's important to us to have an intern and somebody who's following the course at the moment and who can give us an insight on what the students are needing. And together with the rest of the team, we cooperate a lot with the academic team, and we come into classes to not only prepare CV, cover letter, and the standard things, but also our goal is basically for you to find your passion. Okay, so this is what makes us very different from any other hospitality school. It's very important to us that you figure out what are you good at and what do you really love doing. Because if you wake up every morning with a job you really like, it's much nicer than if you wake up and you think, I don't want to see my boss today. This is like the worst feeling in the world. So I don't want you to have this, okay? And I guess anybody who's been in a workforce, you can agree with me that this is not a good feeling. And we see that students who are keen or going on their internships, who are keen to go to work, they do a better job, they get better references, you promote much faster, and your career is basically more successful, you're happier. So for me, it's a win-win. There is no doubt about that. So basically, one thing we will not do is tell you, you have to do an internship in this exactly, in this exact company, in this exact job. We will help you figure out your path, your way. If you choose one of these programs, whether this amazing master's or the bachelor's or any of the other programs, there is a reason why you chose the program. There is a reason, there's something you want to achieve at the end of it. So our role is to help you get there. Okay, so we do this through a variety of things. We have the career days, we have the individual company visits, we have an online platform with tons of jobs. I have, I think, 4 times more jobs than students, so that's very good. You have the fact that you can just walk into the office and talk to somebody and be like, I've never done an interview in my life. What am I supposed to prepare? Or I've done 20 interviews and I'm really bad at it. Can you help me get better? And so we have also an outside consultant that helps us do that. So you have a variety of tools and a multitude of tools to help you get there, depending on what you need. And what we see is that we have over 90 nationalities on campus. If I count the students on internship, also a little bit more. Everybody has a different background, different nationality, different age, different everything. And so what you need is different than the rest of your classmates. So we don't do everything in class. We do the majority of things one-on-one, depending on what the support is that you need. You basically come and ask.
Cool, thanks. And I tell you what, you guys do an amazing job. One of the things that's turned out to be very interesting, specifically about some of the more technical positions, is as we have started to develop more of a reputation for that, I'm finding that we've got employers coming to us that are looking specifically for people with those skills. And one of the interesting paradoxes that's presented in some of these positions, like I have a lot of people that go through my classes that would like to be in revenue management, but quite often revenue management comes with a experience requirement. So there's this horrible paradox of, I'd like to have that job, but I can't get the experience, so I can't get the job, so on and so forth. And the internships help us overcome that. You literally would have 6 months of experience that you could speak to and going to work every single day and doing that task. And so clearly the internships give you an opportunity to open those doors that wouldn't open for you in other situations. So yeah, so they have huge value. They really, really have huge value. If you think about it, you've got the opportunity to validate your career choice before you make a kind of semi-permanent choice. So there's a lot of benefit in a lot of different ways for sure. Thanks, Steph. Okay. So actually we're gonna stick with Stephanie here. And then what I'd like to do really is just, Stephanie, I'm gonna roll through these. The reason that I'm showing you guys this is very specific, and that is we're becoming more specialized, but there's a reason for that. And that's because Les Roches has already defined itself as being really having a DNA for producing people in this type of space. So I'm gonna roll through a bunch of graduates just to kind of give you some examples before we wrap up. And then Steph, do me a favor, at any point, if you see someone on there that you recognize, that's an interesting story, if you wouldn't mind, just tell me to stop, and we'll stick on that page. I'm pretty sure you had somebody on here that you were talking about earlier. So who was that?
So I think there will be quite a few slides with profiles. I think it's very important that you can see where the students went. So the type of companies, you will see that there's the traditional hospitality people that went to restaurants and hotels and so on. But there's also things that are more in the experience economy and other kinds of companies that you might not directly think of. And this is one of the things we see a lot of companies that are not in the traditional hospitality that come and recruit from us because you have a certain set of skills and a certain passion. And this is something that hospitality students have. On top of that, you have the internships, which makes sure that you have some experience. So for them, this combination it's gold. So you will see, and I would like you to see not only their names and their pictures, they're all lovely people, but also where are they working and in terms of location, company, and segment. Okay, so I'll take you through some of those. I could tell you stories about almost each one of them because they come in the office and they used to come in the office, and I love networking, so I stay in touch with many of them. But let's go into slide 2. What I call slide 2. And you will see that there's a different kind of profiles here again. This is the MBA classes from the last couple of years. I'll focus, for example, Ricardo. I actually have a funny story to tell you about him. So Ricardo came to us to do his MBA. He had not done the bachelor's with us before. And he had a very entrepreneurial spirit, and he's got a strong passion for being able to make a difference and change things. And he didn't want to be told all the time what to do and how to do it. And he came to school, and then we were having the first career days. And he said, you know, but career days don't work. Career days are not valuable because there's too many people. And so he said, I'm not going to come. And then he graduated and he said, okay, I'm having a job, but they're not letting me do what I want. So can I please come back to your career day? I said, yeah, sure, come back. So now since he came back to that career day, he's working at Edwardians, and basically he's organizing all the events and helping with all the openings. And it's a smaller company, so it's still a brand, but it's a smaller company, and they really give you the power to make a difference and to manage. And I think this is a trend that we're seeing. In the past, when I was a student, people wanted to work for Marriott and Hilton and Hyatt and like the names that everybody knew. And now we have a lot of students coming to say, I want to work for a company that is not your big standard 5. I want to have a company where I can be myself, where I can, you know, decide what I want to do that day and not have somebody micromanage me and tell me what to say, how to say, with which words, when to say it, at what distance, and so on, to not have it so standard. And I think this is, for example, one of what was the case with Ricardo. He did come out of that career day with 4 other offers. He took this one. I think it's a good match for him. And he's really loving it.
Choices are nice, especially on career day. I mean, I'll just share really quickly. I did an undergraduate internship with Marriott Corporation. And when I graduated, I had an opportunity to go back to work for them, but it was really too big for me. It's exactly as you're saying. I didn't really fit in. So I went to work for a small management company in the United States that had 11 hotels at the time, a little company called Interstate Hotels that probably many of the people that are in the business are familiar with now because they've got a couple thousand hotels. And it was the perfect decision for me because that company grew very rapidly and they invested in me. And all of a sudden I was a director of revenue management for over 30 hotels. And I started out in housekeeping, and 10 years later, that's where I was. So you're right. I think that sometimes the choices you make may, you know, the job that you think you want when you start may not be the job that you desire by the time you finish up after you learn some things for sure. So
yes.
Yeah, I think I see our entire panel simultaneously not. Sure.
Yes.
Let's find one more quick example of if there's somebody else that I'm just curious. You and I could do this all day long. I find this really interesting, but
yes.
Let's pick one more.
Here, for example, let's take Pooja. She's from India. She came to us. I remember her in class the first day, and she says, I have no understanding of hospitality. I have an analytics and finance background, and I'm really, really good with numbers. And I said, but listen, you're going to get the knowledge of hospitality here on campus. And then why don't we merge those things that you're good at and what you want to learn, what you're passionate about? Let's merge those things together. And then she went on to work for Jumeirah. And so now she's director of asset management. She's really enjoying it. It's a very challenging position from what she told me. So I think it's one of those positions that you might not think of straight ahead when you're choosing a career in hospitality, but these positions are there as well, corporate offices and so on. It's not all housekeeping, food and beverage, reception, and reservations. There's much more to hospitality.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go through these so people can see them, but you see all kinds of different people in the industry, from analysts at PlayStation right outside the industry to an area manager at Booking.com, one of the companies that we talked about earlier. So again, you can see that we really already have an established track record for placing our alumni in positions like that. We have 2 glaring examples on the panel with us today. But I think that's what you can count on us for. I think if you decide to come to school here, you know, we will make an effort to make this happen for you because it's the measurement of us. It's how we feel like we're defined, and it puts us on the same page as far as your goals.
And okay. We were talking about Montclair before, if I may add. And there's a big trend of people studying hospitality that want to go into retail. Scott, if you don't mind going to the previous slide just for 1 second. Sure. I think this is actually very interesting and quite cool, attached to the new masters that we're developing. So if you see at the bottom, there's a gentleman called Pedro Almeida. He's a Portuguese guy, and he graduated in 2014. Now he works for a company called Intelligent Reach. reach. And this is where I think that, for example, he would have been able to move into this kind of position much earlier if he would have studied the new masters. Intelligent Reach, what they do is that they do analytics for retail and for brands, for luxury brands as well. And they basically do the analytics for them so that they can increase their visibility and how much revenue they make, etc. And so I think this is a combination of something that is very much into what we call hospitality at the moment, which is retail, plus the analytics bit, and where you need to know technology. Now he focuses on customer success. Okay, so he has to make sure that their customers are getting what they want out of the product that they sell. And I think this is where this would have been a very good combination. He would have been able to do this much faster if the master's was there a little while ago when he was studying.
Excellent. Thank you. Perfect commercial, by the way. Thank you. So I'm just going to kind of give everybody an opportunity to see these, but you're going to see there's just a really, really large breadth of what you can use these skills for when you finish your education with us. Okay. All right. So I am going to go ahead and let Mario know that if we've got any questions, let's definitely address those now.
Yes, in the meantime, we have another poll for you that you can vote to. Yeah, no, in the meantime, we've received a few questions. Well, people have the time to vote. Paul, sorry, Scott, somebody asked, I have a bachelor, I'm currently doing bachelor in hospitality. If I want to go into sales and marketing, how much do I need a postgraduate diploma, a master, and which one, how to choose? So somebody really wanted to go in sales and marketing.
I can speak to that because that was my career path. I worked with sales people in hotels, and great hotels that were very successful that didn't have hospitality degrees at all. But what I would say is it's becoming more and more digital. So you're at least going to need those skills. You're going to need to understand how you can take advantage of technology to make that job smoother. And so my personal opinion is that you would find that our degree in digital transformation, for example, would accelerate your career very rapidly. And so I personally feel very comfortable saying that 5 years from now, you would be on a faster path with those additional skills. Because you never know when it's really a thin thread that drives your career. So you never know when demonstrating that you know something that's unexpected to someone is going to put you on a list that's going to put you on a fast track. So I personally think it would be tremendously beneficial. And for the most part, I'll be very honest and say the degree was largely conceived by us taking a look at the different career paths in the commercial side of hospitality and really trying to train people to be able to move quicker. So I would say you'd be a huge benefactor if that's what you chose. Yeah, I would also tell you it's a really cool career choice because over the last 10 years, hospitality has become very digital and the business has been very strong. So we've lost a little bit of our ability to build relationships in the sales arena. And over the next 3 to 5 years, as we recover, those jobs are going to be critical. So people with those skills are going to find that their career opportunities are really going to accelerate over the next couple of years because it's the first downturn that many people have experienced in their careers. So I think you're going to find that that's a very, very, very valuable and marketable skill set for the next 5 or 10 years to come at least. So that's a great question.
Perfect. Thank you. And then a question for Stephanie, I guess. If I graduate from Les Roches of any other hospitality school and I want to knock at the door of Montclair type of company, I think that's what it means. Yeah. How do I present myself? How can I go and say, hi, I study hospitality, but I want to work in luxury because what would you recommend to the student?
So basically, obviously, you have to represent the brand. So you have to really believe in the values of this brand. Okay. One thing that I do think, for example, makes a difference is, and I told you before, I'm a big fan of networking and keeping in touch with people, is the fact that if you know somebody within a company, it's easier to work for that company. And the reason why is because we trust what we know. This is a very human thing. So if I know it, I feel more comfortable. So if, for example, let's say you came to Les Roches, you will have met Montclair at the career days. They will have seen you in person. You will have had one or maybe repeated conversations. By the time you have to go and do an interview, they feel like they know you and you will probably have an advantage. So trying to find somebody within the company that you know that can make an interesting introduction, understanding really a lot about the company, the job, and so on, so that you come across as knowledgeable, I think that can give you definitely a good advantage.
Wonderful.
Can I add a comment to that?
Please.
So I actually work for LVMH, and just to answer that question a little bit on top of what Stephanie was saying, don't underestimate the name of Les Roches. It's not because it's not a hotel that people don't know. So the person that hired me, actually not just the person, so from director of human resources to sales and marketing director, they knew Les Roches. These companies are already hiring within that market, within the hospitality industry, because I think we talked about that earlier a little bit, because of the level of service that we can provide, because of the ability that we have working hospitality to multitask, to think outside the box, to really go above and beyond. We're trained for that within hospitality. So companies like Montclair and LVMH that I worked for and other luxury companies, they know that. They're looking for students from Les Roches specifically for those reasons, because we have the skill set. So don't underestimate the name that the school can bring to that as well.
Yeah, one of the things, if I could just chime in with that, one of the things that I'm most proud of is our reputation with employers. And the reason that I'm very proud of that is because it does exactly as you say. If you consistently get students from our institution that can do the job you hire them for, you'll keep coming back for more of those people. So that's a fantastic point, Talina. You're actually right. Yeah.
Thank you. A question for everybody is around examples of artificial intelligence usage in hospitality. Can you give some concrete example?
Should we conclude the poll first?
Yes.
And then go back to the questions? Let's take a look at the poll
still
first.
Open? Oh yeah. Let's close the poll and let's see the results. Can you see the results?
Well, let me make it bigger.
Yeah.
Very small.
43% digital marketing.
Cool. Okay.
Leadership,
Thanks.
design thinking, multicultural, and artificial intelligence, 10%. Maybe that's where the question sparkled from.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, if I could just, I'm very interested to hear our panelists talk about the artificial intelligence thing. And so let me ask you, Ludovic, and then I'm going to ask you, Talita, and then I have a little bit of an idea too. We'll share on that. And then we'll kind of think maybe after this question, Mario, we'll wrap up if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when I look at this poll, I see that the largest one is 43%, right? Digital marketing skills. And for me, I'd also say it's one of the biggest ones. I'm going to tie this into AI later for people who are wondering. I think it's also one of the biggest ones because it gets you revenue and income immediately that allows you to grow your business. So it's kind of like an instant result kind of thing, which can be very helpful. So, and in order to make this digital marketing work, by default, there's a lot of AI already on the internet that you basically have to learn to leverage, or you need to work with someone who knows how to do that. So for me, I do it all the time because I am in marketing. But one of these examples would be where you get people to your own personal website, and then on your website, you have something called pixels. And pixels are tiny pieces of code that basically learn what kind of people come to your website, and then you can use that pixel to talk to all similar people on the internet and say, hey, people like you like my stuff, so maybe you like it too, which allows you to really target and niche down on exactly the kind of people that would like your stuff. And that will help you basically convert more clients and scale your business, right? So from that perspective, this is just, it's a very practical way of AI, but it's very helpful.
Okay, and how about you, Talita? Any application for AI that you can think of in your environment?
I mean, I'm a big fan of marketing automation. Again, I'm in marketing and I've been in sales and marketing for many years now, ever since I graduated actually, and marketing automation is key. So I'm a big fan of jumping on what Louis said as well, understanding the consumer, understanding people and potential buyers that are looking at you. So not just, as he said, to sort of promote and get more people that can be potential buyers, but also understanding the people that are already there, they're already on the website. What is their journey? What is their research process? What is their thought process? You as a company, you need to match exactly where they are within the buyer's journey in order to be able to eventually sell, right? Because at the end, that's what we want to do. We want to sell, we want to get the money in. So marketing automation enables you to understand your consumer in a way that yeah, nothing else really does. Like no other, let's say, traditional marketing ways would give you that sort of insight. So we do have a tremendous amount of possibilities when it comes to digital marketing when we're using a variety of AI tools that we have available as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to be a couple, I'm going to give you a couple of specific examples with things that I run into for the person that asked the question. Right now, artificial intelligence is being used a lot to personalize the booking experience. Before the crisis, that was the buzzword, right? Personalization. We're all talking about personalization. So it's being applied in a lot of ways that way. So, and it's very simple in some cases. I'll tell you, think of Netflix, for example. Everyone probably has heard of the show Stranger Things, but they use artificial intelligence to decide which little thumbnail to serve you. So if you're a person that's watched a lot of romance movies, you get the cute couple in Stranger Things holding hands. If you've watched a lot of slasher movies, you get the bloody ones. You basically get it geared towards you because Netflix wants you to watch their properties because it doesn't cost them any money. Whereas if you watch something that someone else produced, they have to pay. So they use all of their intelligence about you in order to promote you watching their shows. And you only become aware of it. I became aware of it because I was sitting next to my son looking at virtually the same screen, except he had this very bloody picture of a person and I had this cute couple promoting the same show. And when I look into it, it's because they have 20 different versions of that thumbnail and they use AI to serve that up. Or imagine using AI as a hotel to take a look at people's individual social media profiles. And let's say that as soon as you identify 30% or more food pictures, you label them a foodie and you start a whole separate pre-arrival foodie marketing plan to them. And maybe it's an automated letter from the chef that says, I'm planning the specials for the week you're here and I'm thinking about these things. And then an automated letter that prints, hey, great choice for the salmon. It's the special on Tuesday. Would you like us to make your reservation? And all of that can be managed with artificial intelligence to maintain a personal relationship with the customer that doesn't really mean a lot of labor on behalf of the hotel. So there's a lot of places where it's being applied. And I'll tell you, I'm a dummy in this area. There are people that are figuring out stuff that we can't even think of right now with AI and machine learning. So there's really amazing stuff out there. It's going to be an incredible field, no question. No question about it. Even in search results, as we start using more voice search and less typed search, and we start to, and AI starts to try to measure the intent. Okay, using those words, is he trying to buy something or is he looking for more information and serving us different search results even? It's going to be limitless the way that stuff is going to be used. So yeah, it's everywhere. Okay. All right. Well, I guess, Mario, I think that's it for questions. If there's any other really pressing ones, we can definitely get back to people on them. But what I'd like to do to wrap up is just kind of give everybody an opportunity to have one final word. So if you don't mind, Stephanie, I'm going to start with you. Kind of one, if you were sitting in this webinar and you're one of the people that has aspirations for one of those career goals, what one nugget of wisdom would you share with them? Oop.
Oh,
I think we lost
Stephanie, you're muted.
Here she comes. Yep. Okay. No. Maybe Lodovic, let me, if you don't mind, put you on the spot for the same answer. We'll get to Stephanie.
No problem. So I'm going to adjust my message to the poll that we had earlier. So I saw that 45% of people want to get into a career in hospitality, and then a bit fewer want to basically take on a supportive role. But this is going to sound a little cheeky, and they didn't invite me for this. Like I swear. But I basically recommend taking a serious look at Les Roches. I mean, you're already here, but for me, I've spent a year there, and I want to support what Stephanie said, is that they're really trying to help you land your dream job. Now, and I can vouch for that's true. And how actually insane is it that you go to a university where they actually try to get you your dream job? I mean, I don't know if that sounds normal to you, but it's really not. Normally, a university is a machine where you read your books, you pass your tests, you get out, and then you're like, oh, what am I gonna do now? You know, with Les Roches, it's very different. And I'm also I can also vouch for that in the sense that they landed me my dream job, right? Even better, actually, they surpassed my expectations. So, and I see that happening everywhere. So I'm very proud of them. You should definitely take a look at them. And also for hospitality, technology is crucial, but also secondary. I feel like if you're going to get into hospitality, the most important thing is that you love people, and that you want to cater to them, and that you want to be warm to them, and that if a guest comes to you, it actually makes you smile, you know, and you're happy to see them. I think if you have that component, then you're already so far ahead of most people, and then you just, you know, act professionally, you study up, and then you're like 90% to being a massive success.
Cool. Stephanie, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
We can. Let's give it a try.
Okay. So my advice is, it was told to me a couple years ago, and it's the fact that everybody will give you advice. Everybody will tell you what to do, how to do it. Your mother will tell you, I will tell you, your godfather will tell you, teachers will tell you. And at the end, nobody knows you better than you. So listen to everybody, say yes to everybody because it looks good, especially if you're hospitality people, we like saying yes. And then whatever it is that you really want to do, go and do that, please.
Cool. And Talita, how about you? Last word.
No pressure. Okay, that's great advice. I really vouch for both of those things. I wanted to emphasize, thinking of my time at Les Roches as well, I wanted to emphasize on 3 points. Number one, don't limit yourself to hotels. So I think it's something that the school is pushing more and more, different than when I was there before. And now students that are joining and students that are currently part of the Les Roches family, they already have so many more opportunities that I think is incredible. Don't limit yourself to the top 5. Marriott, Starwood, whatever. Now it's 1, but like, don't limit yourself. Think outside the box. What are the other companies that I can go for? If it's not directly linked to hospitality, that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't mean that because you have a hospitality degree that you should be working within the box of hospitality, which is already pretty huge. So that's number one. Number two, don't underestimate the power of network. Not networking, but also your network that goes from campus. The person that you're sitting next to, they can give you a job in a few years. So really, really be mindful of that throughout your whole time at Les Roches and beyond. So networking is extremely, extremely important. And yeah, it's just very powerful. You can get the job that you want having a network. And I think Stephanie mentioned that before. And then lastly, touching on internships a little bit. I loved doing my internships. I actually did more than I should have done. And if I had the time, I would have done even more, because not only you get to try it out, that Scott mentioned as well, but you get to build your network. So everything ties in one. Building a network is extremely important. And I think, let's say, try to be a little bit inspiring here. I'm in Dubai right now. My second internship was in Dubai. The reason why I'm in Dubai today is because of my internship. I worked at the Burj Al Arab at the time. And one of my clients is the current CEO of this huge event company. He hired me. So it is so, so important to tie these 3 points together and not underestimate the power that you have, or the opportunities that you have, the powerful name that Les Roches has, and the network that it brings as well. So I hope that sort of sums it up.
Perfect. Perfect. And I tell you what, I'm just going to throw a little piece of advice on the end, and then I think we'll completely wrap up. But I really love what several of you guys said about your dream job. I think get in touch with that. Understand that it can change. You'll learn more and it will change, but you should always have a destination in mind, in my opinion. Excuse me. And along those lines, get clear enough to have a personal elevator pitch. If you get stuck with me in the elevator for 45 seconds and I say, what are your dreams in life? If you go, you probably missed an opportunity. So I would say know that answer. Get really in touch with it, because you, just as Ludovic mentioned in his little thing he divulged about himself, I think if you keep that thought alive, you have a much better chance of ending up there. And as you look at educational opportunities, and if you have that specific goal in mind, challenge the people you're talking to commit to being able to get you there. Because what I would tell you is, if you have a very clear outcome, at least for the master's program I'm responsible for, I will be very honest with you. I don't think I can help you get there, or I can, because any institution that you're contemplating going to that's worth the salt is going to be concerned about helping you achieve your goals at the end, like they mentioned. So state your goals up front. And if they don't want to help you get there, I think next, right? That's not your choice. So that would be my one piece of advice. Guys, Lodovic, Talita, Stephanie, thank you so much. A tremendous amount of wisdom in 60 minutes. So that was amazing. And I hope that everyone that was watching had an opportunity to get something that they showed up for. Even the Netflix folks, I hope you got something. And so I look forward to connecting with you guys again. Don't hesitate to follow us on LinkedIn. All the cool stuff we do gets out on LinkedIn, and so you'll get an opportunity to see the different things we're doing. In some cases, we're opening up classes so that people can attend our classes online occasionally. We've got a lot of really cool stuff going on, so definitely follow us, and you'll be able to see more events like this one. So again, thank you guys so much, and thank you for everyone that attended, and we'll catch you guys again soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much.